Hi everyone, my name is Rajita. I'm lecturer in commerce and working at Government Degree College, Mortad. Today's topic is routine checking. Routine checking is the checking of common records and books or original entry and ledger with a view of detect clerical errors and frauds of every simple nature. That means the daily transactions which are entered in the books are verified in this routine checking. So there are some advantages are there with the routine checking, that is detection of errors and frauds. So while checking the daily transactions, uh, so the routine check eliminates the clerical errors. So detection of errors and frauds are very easy in daily routine checking, because the daily transactions are very less and the careful observation can be possible in the routine checking. And checking of postings, so each and every transaction postings can be checked whether they are posted in the correct manner and in the correct place. So this is possible with the routine checking. And checking the final accounts, so every day the checking of final accounts, so every day the final accounts are checked and calculated the profit every day. With this the errors and frauds and wrong calculations and wrong posting, each and everything can be find out in routine checking. And the arithmetical accuracy of entry, so everyday trial balance is prepared, so they can see the arithmetical accuracy of entries which they have made on that day. And a simple job, so the transactions are very less, so the job will be done simply. And this check will give the clerks to correct their mistakes, and they can, so those cannot be repeated by the clerks. So the routine check will also helps the management to take decisions about the uh, costs and production levels. So these can happen with the routine checking. And there are some disadvantages with the routine checking, because it is a time consuming work, because every day they have to check the transactions which they have recorded in the books. So with that it will take time, and the daily process will become hectic for the auditor. So the auditor can work as a mechanized, so there is no any constructive thinking. So these are some disadvantages with routine checking. Next is internal check. So a system of internal check is an arrangement of duties whereby no one person is allowed to carry through and to record every aspect of a transaction. So it will allows the duties to each and every person. So there is a distribution of work in internal check. So with that it's not burden for any one person. So those responsibilities and those duties are distributed among the persons. So this will gives the accuracy for uh, to check into each and every aspect of transactions. And there are some objectives of internal check, that is to allocate duties and responsibilities of clerks. So the duties and responsibilities defined for the clerks, what they have to do, how they have to do, and when they have to do. So with this internal check, each and every transaction is checked, and the clerks can also be very careful about the transaction while they are recording into books. to minimize the errors and fraud. So with this internal check, that means internal checking means the company will appoint an auditor to check the books with a regular interval. So with that, the errors and frauds can be finded out before they go into final audit, and these can be rectified and compensated with the internal check. And to detect error of fraud easily, it is the committed frauds can be finded out easily, because the transactions are very less, the concentration can be more while checking the transaction. So, and to prepare final accounts, it is very easy with the internal checks, because the errors and frauds can be found out early. So with that, they can prepare the final accounts with accuracy, and to exercise moral pressure over staff. And by finding out the frauds and errors, so they can they can correct their mistakes, and the morality in work can be increased with the internal check. There are some advantages and disadvantages in internal check. So let's see the advantages. The proper distribution of work can be done, as we discussed in objectives. The distribution of duties are done in the internal check. So to do the work properly, so the distribution of work is very important, which gives the accuracy in work. And detection of errors and frauds, as we explained, as we discussed in objectives, that frauds and errors can easily be detected in the internal check. And minimization of errors and frauds can also be possible, because the finding the whatever the findings can be corrected by the clerk. So the it's a very less chances to commit mistakes and to commit frauds with the internal check systems, and increase the efficiency. So the efficiency will be increased with the internal check. And there are the disadvantages, that is no seriousness, because the internal check is a almost continuous process with a regular interval. So there would be no seriousness while they are checking the transactions, because it is a routine. It will become as a routine work. So they can lose the seriousness while they are doing internal check, and carelessness. So they will be thinking that there will be chance to find out the frauds and errors. So they can check the transactions with the carelessness, and expensive, because they have to do the internal check with a regular interval. So it will be expensive for the company, and disorder. So it can misplace the transactions. That means there could be no order for the transactions. Qualifications of an auditor. So a person shall not be qualified for appointment as an auditor unless he is a chartered accountant with the meaning of CA Act 1949. So he must complete the course of chartered accountancy according to 1949 CA Act. So after completion of that CA, the person who holds a restricted auditor certificate, so after getting the certificate, he has to register with the ICAI for the practice as CA. So an auditor must possess adequate educational qualification. He must be independent of all influences. And a chartered accountant means a person who is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. That, as I told you, the registration means taking a membership from the ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, is must for a person to appoint as auditor for company. Qualifications of an auditor. So a body of corporate cannot be an auditor for a company. An officer or employee of the company under audit is a disqualification. Like that means if a person maybe completed a chartered accountancy, but if he working in the company as in another designation, he cannot be appointed as auditor for the company, and this is one of the disqualification. And a person who is a partner or who is in the employment of an officer or employee of the company. So if it is a partnership company, or the other partners cannot be appointed as auditor for the company, and officer cannot also be appointed as auditor for the company. A person who is indebted to the company for an amount exceeding 1,000 rupees. For example, if a person completed CA but he is indebted for more than 1,000 rupees, so that person cannot be appointed as auditor for that company. So this is also one of the disqualification for an auditor to be appointed as auditor. And a person holding security of that company. If a person holding securities like shares, debentures, or other securities of the company, so that person cannot also be appointed as a auditor for the company. And a person who has been disqualified for appointment as an auditor for a company on a more mentioned ground shall also not be eligible for the appointment with any other body corporate, with maybe that the company subsidiary or the company's holding company. So these are the disqualifications of an auditor. Next is appointment of auditor. So there are 4 types of appointment can be done for appointing an auditor for a company. So that is first appointing by directors, and appointment by shareholders, appointment by the central government, and appointment by the controller auditor general. Let's see the one by one type of appointments for a company. There are 2 methods if the directors appointing an auditor for the company, that is first auditors. The board of directors shall appoint the first auditors of the company with 1 month of the date of the registration of the company. So after registering 1 month, I mean that means every company should register with the company registrar after registering date. For example, if we registered on this day, after 1 month, that means after 30 days of registration, first auditor should be appointed for that company. So those first director is appointed by directors. And there is also another situation when the directors will appoint an auditor for the company in the situation of a casual vacancy. The directors have been empowered to fill any casual vacancy in the office of an auditor, except which caused by prior resignation of an auditor. So in the casual vacancy, that means prior resignation of auditor in the middle of the financial year. So the casual vacancy is filled by the directors. So this is also one of the situation where the directors will appoint an auditor for the company. And there is the next type is appointment by shareholders. So so there are situations, that is the first auditor. In case the director fails to appoint the first auditor, the shareholder shall do so at general meeting by passing a resolution. So if the directors actually the director has to appoint a first director. If the directors board fails to appoint the directors, so in annual general meeting the shareholders will appoint an auditor by giving their majority of votes, and subsequent auditors like by ordinary resolutions, by special resolutions. If a company shall within 7 days given information to the auditor so appointed, the auditor shall inform in writing to the registrar of company within 13 days of his appointment. So after appointing a person as a auditor, so he has to give the information that he has been appointed as auditor for the company, to company registrar, to make the appointment official. And in the situation of by ordinary resolution, so in every year in annual general meeting, auditor is appointed by the majority of votes, or the reappointment can be happen of the same auditor for the company. And by special resolution, in case the death of the auditor or the mental illness happens in the middle of the year, so by making special resolution, the auditor is appointed for the company. And in the situation of casual vacancy, if a casual vacancy in the office of an auditor arises by his resignation, such vacancy should only be filled by the company in a annual general meeting. So the casual vacancy is filled in only annual general meeting. Appointment of an auditor by central government. If a company at an annual general meeting fails to appoint or reappoint an auditor, the central government may appoint a person to fill the vacancy. So generally every annual general meeting, the auditor is appointed and reappointed. If the annual general meeting fails to appoint an auditor directly, the central government will take initiation to fill up the auditor vacancy in the company. So the company has to give notice of the above fact to the government within 7 days of annual general meeting. So after conducting the annual general meeting, if they fail to appoint an auditor in that general meeting, so this situation is this situation should be reported to the central government within 7 days. So the appointment by the central government is made from the panel of names suggested by the applicant company. So when they are giving the information to the central government, they will be mentioning the names of an auditor, which those persons can be appointed as auditor for that company. From that, the central government will choose a person to appoint as auditor for the company. Type is by the Comptroller Auditor General. In case of government companies, the Comptroller Auditor General appoints and reappoints the auditor. So for the government company, the Comptroller Auditor General will take the initiation for appointing auditor and reappointing an auditor for government companies. So these are the different types of appointments which can use to appoint an auditor for the company to better evaluation and better results in future for that company. But the registered companies should definitely be audited. There are options for partnership firms and non-trading organizations. appointment of directors is appointment of auditor is very important for a company, to know the situations, to know the financial situations of the company every year, and the stakeholders want to know the financial position, to keep their investment in the same company or not. So the audit is very important for company and for the investors, uh, to know the situation of the company. So these auditor books will be published for the stakeholders' sake, to know the financial position of the company. So before that, the auditor should certify by giving a report to the company.